Welcome to Smash Fiction, where we pit two or more fictional characters against each other in a battle of strength, or wits, or unusual career choices, and see who would win. This week, in celebration of the Flophouse Podcast's observation of Cagemus, we have our first ever cage match. It's Ben Gates versus Cameron Poe versus Castor Troy versus Edward Malus. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the center ring. The following is a steel cage match. The only way to win is by escaping the cage, but something tells me that our competitors are going to have to fight their way through each other for the chance. First up, from Washington, D.C., standing at 6'0" and weighing in at 165 pounds, he puts the buff into history buff. He'll steal the Declaration of Independence and then declare your face independent from your head with the Bill of Rights, which is what he calls his fist. It's Benjamin Franklin, National Treasure Gates.
Ooh. I found door number 3, Dan, and I'm taking it.
And making his way to the ring is our next contestant from Alabama, standing at 6'0" and weighing in at 165 pounds. He has the voice of Forrest Gump and the hair of a shampoo commercial. When he tells you to put the bunny in the box, you'd better listen to Cameron Con Air Poe.
Best in the world! Best in the world! Best in the world!
Boo, discount Fabio, boo.
And the sound of the Hallelujah chorus means that the next contestant is making his way to the ring entirely via a series of dramatic sideways leaps. From Southern California, standing at 6'0" and weighing in at 165 pounds, he's the crazy-eyed, face-stealing, butterfly knife-flipping, Los Angeles-bombing terrorist, Castor Face-Off Troy.
You know, I can eat a peach for hours.
Wait, are we doing the intros right now?
No, I got another one. I got no shortage of face-off quotes. Fear not.
They're just posing in the ring.
Just making sure. Got it.
And finally, coming to us by way of Summers Isle in the Pacific Northwest, standing at 6'0" and weighing in at 165 pounds, he floats like a bee and stings like a man in a bear costume riding a bicycle. How to get burned? How to get burned? Because it decided to mess with Edward the Wicker Man Malus.
Bitches,
And so lame, he doesn't even have his own hometown.
So, who will win this match of intense athleticism? Why are you asking me? This certainly hasn't been staged or predetermined in advance. This is a legitimate sport. In any event, I, Dan Mulcairn, am your impartial referee for the week. Advocating for Benjamin Franklin Gates is Liz Logan.
Give me that money, give me that money, give me that money.
Advocating for Cameron Poe is Miles Schneiderman.
Put the bunny back in the box!
Advocating for Castor Troy is Colin Mulcairn.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
Advocating for Edward Malus is Kit Mulcairn.
Oh no, not the bees. Not the bees. Ah. Oh, they're in my eyes. My eyes. I can't finish it. I tried.
In order to determine who goes first this week, I traveled back in time to the founding of the United States and helped establish a massive conspiracy, then returned to the present and tasked the advocates with uncovering the treasure I'd hidden within various national monuments. Liz found the original first edition D&D player's handbook that I hid under the toenail of the Statue of Liberty, so she'll be going first. Next will be Kit, who found the Lobot action figure hidden at the Alamo, then Miles, who found the Alpha Edition Magic the Gathering booster pack in Mount St. Helens, and finally Colin, who heard of treasure hidden in Yosemite but mistakenly believed that Yosemite was in Alaska and ended up snowed in for the duration of the trial.
Liz, if you're not too busy in your search for the Book of Secrets, it's your turn on the floor.
Huh, I already found it, please. Anyways, what do you get when you have a tenuous connection to Lara Croft through John Voight, a receding hairline, and 75% less boobs? Why, you get the curio-collecting, treasure-wrangling, let's commit a crime to prevent a crime, Ben Gates. Let's just get straight into it, shall we? This guy can survive anyone and anything thrown at him. I mean, Ben Gates is able to outsmart Sean Bean in his prime. Sean Bean doesn't even die in this first movie. That's like 50% more Sean Bean badassery utilized by National Treasure. He outsmarts Abigail, a smart person, survives an FBI/secret Freemason agent interrogation.
You can't even keep a straight face while defending this character.
So
I just want to point that out.
he survives an FBI/. Okay, he survives a secret Freemason agent interrogation, jumps off an aircraft carrier, cuts open his own hand for blood to rub on a pipe, breaks into one of the most secure locations in the United States, survives a giant dinner party, survives having to use a credit card instead of cash, dodges bullets like Neo, and runs like a champ with an awkward tubular bag. Okay, Ben Gates is an onion. You keep peeling layers and layers of pretty average flavor, and then you start crying from how majestic he truly is, okay? All right, the biggest advantage...
That's not why I'm crying.
The biggest advantage that Ben Gates has is he's got the best chance of being able to actually break out of the damn cage. Ben Gates constantly shows he knows how to either break into things or solve whatever puzzles he needs to in order to break into something. He can hack, he knows what buttons to press, he knows what Valley Forge is, he knows where to look, etc. I mean, the guy literally looks at a desk in National Treasure 2 and is like, yeah, that's what I need. Oh yeah. This is how you solve this. Oh, and did I mention? This is Buckingham frickin' Palace where he broke into. Plus, he can also escape and break out of places as well. In the beginning of National Treasure, he was able to escape the Charlotte, aka the secret ship under the ice. He then escaped another horrible dinner party. He escaped via the jumping off the aircraft carrier. I mean, in the second movie, he broke into another horrible dinner party where the US president was present. Come on, the US president was there. Security must have been through the roof. Plus, the guy has some pretty decent parkour and cardio skills. Perfect for climbing his way out of a cage and running circles around his lesser forms. I mean, he climbs some actual steel scaffolding on the side of a building in the first movie. Plus, he knows how to fake people out. He's shown that he can dodge bullets and escape from all the cronies coming his way. In fact, I'll be willing to bet none of the other contestants even know how to actually escape from the cage, since pretty much all of them end up in a cage or come from a cage at some point in their life.
Well, they all come from cages.
Cameron Poe is literally like a prison mate, and now he's on a airplane, which is small and enclosed like a plane.
He's a prison mate? You mean he's like second in command?
Whatever. Castor Troy is fucking crazy, and he belongs in a prison, and is in a prison. Well, he's in a coma. That's prison enough. That's his prison enough. And Edward Malus is like got a bee thing over his head, and he's being bitten by bees, so that's a cage too. So also... Ben Gates, I mean, you look at him, you see his $1 million smile, and people are like, oh, wow, I want to be friends with that guy. Or he probably knows what's up. Okay, great. So he will probably be seen as super useful, and the other cages will want to keep him around to figure out how to open the cage. I mean, this is where Ben really shines. As he's, being forced to fiddle with whatever cage mechanism, he'd be like, okay, it's open now. You can get out. The other cage would be like, oh! And then boom! They're going to get a Declaration of Independence in the back of their pretty little head. Or he'll somehow engineer a cage using the cage they're already in to trap them or some shit like that. Maybe he'll start talking in a horrific English accent, pretend that he's crazy, and doesn't need to be dealt with like in National Treasure 2. Either way, Ben Gates is damn smart. And damn good at bluffing. I mean, just look at the juxtaposition between him and Sean Bean in National Treasure. Sean Bean is a brute bashing through things with no finesse, just shitting on history and treasure and stuff, similar to how Cameron, Castor, and Edward are going to act. Ben Gates is all about finesse and manipulating a situation and its players to his advantage. And he also wins in the end of the movie, so there's that. Oh, and he's super convincing. Let's not forget that he convinced the freaking US president to follow him into a tunnel. The guy who everyone thinks is a total loony convinced the president to go through a claustrophobic, where bad things love to happen, tunnel. The guy is the most amazing everyman ever. He can deal with any random ass situation thrown at him and get his way. Castor Troy is fucking insane, Cameron Poe gets rocked easily, and Edward Malus is a train wreck. Ben Gates is the only one with a level, analytical head on his broad shoulders.
Can I just say real quick that now my life will not be complete until I hear Jim Ross or some other famous wrestling announcer say, "My God, Ben Gates just hit him with the Declaration of Independence."
One of these days, we definitely have to get JR on as a guest advocate. So.
Oh, absolutely.
I think when it comes time, I'm going to be far too confused about what just happened to rebut any of that.
Yeah. Some strong words. Strong, confusing words.
Strong, confusing, mistaken words.
So, well done, Liz. Kit, killing these other cages won't bring back your damn honey, but it'll be really dang entertaining, so have at it.
I want all the listeners to close their eyes. Unless you're driving, please don't. The rest of you, close them and visualize the following. Stadium lights are off. The crowd is hushed in anticipation. When suddenly, 2 towering gouts of flame frame the entrance of Edward Malus, dressed head to toe in a black bear suit. He nervously walks down toward the ring as yellow and black confetti shaped like bees float down from the rafters, some of which catch fire and maybe burn a few members of the audience, whatever. Over the speakers, Iron Maiden's The Wicker Man blares, and the audience responds with excited cheers and moshing. All right, everyone can open their eyes to the reality of the situation.
That sounds kind of awesome.
I know Edward Malus is nowhere near the most capable Cage in this fight, but he's the underdog, and underdogs are the ones people write unrealistic stories about. And if this podcast isn't about unrealistic stories, then what the fuck is it? What are we even doing here? So here's how Malus is going to win this. I see all 4 cages, each standing in their own corner of the ring. Castor Troy, the mad-eyed criminal from Face Off, is probably going to talk some shit to instigate a fight or make the first move on someone. Cameron Poe, the kind-hearted convict from Con Air, is probably going to wind up dealing with Castor Troy's psycho, bug-eyed self, either because Troy goes after him or because Troy goes after one of the other cages, and Poe is too good of a guy to see an innocent man killed. While they're distracted, the 2 smarter cages, history nerd Ben Gates and Malus, are going to make a break for the wire cage walls and start climbing. If he absolutely needs to, Malus will have his last resort weaponry, his EpiPens, on hand to throw or just plain stab a bit. His cop training.
It is no disqualification.
His cop training paired with his devastating bear claw right hook will drop any cage that doesn't take him seriously. And they won't. I mean, look at him. He's a grown-ass man in a bear suit. Your Honor, I've made my case.
You certainly have. Oh, well, there's only 2 men I trust. One of them's me. The other's not Miles. But it's his turn, so what are you going to do?
Oh, man. I don't even know where you guys are getting off thinking that you're going to win this. For Castor Troy, Benjamin Gates, and Edward Malus, fighting Cameron Poe in a cage match is going to be like, I don't know, facing a swarm of angry bees that attack you while taking the shape of your own face, just as the Freemasons predicted. Poe is an ex-Army Ranger. He's up against a policeman, a terrorist, and whatever Gates is, I guess, like, criminal is the best term?
Lara Croft's brother, actually. Yeah.
I don't think that's factually correct.
Treasure protector is, I think,
Get
the term he likes.
Poe has more training in fighting and killing than all 3, and is clearly deadlier, particularly in unarmed combat, which is what this is. Troy could be a problem, but he really only uses guns and bombs, and the other 2 aren't fighters at all. Meanwhile, the entire premise of Con Air is that Poe killed a dude with his bare hands by accident. Throughout the film, he takes on numerous hardened killers and defeats them. Like, literally, every character in that movie, badass enough to have a cool nickname, gets killed by Cameron Poe. All of them. Poe also understands the mechanics of a cage match better than the others because he's the only one from the South. And also he's a soldier, which makes him the key boxing/wrestling/MMA demographic. I mean, okay, just Ben Gates, for example. Ben Gates is extremely well educated. Dude doesn't watch wrestling, is what I hear when that happens. Poe probably grew up on wrestling and knows tactics the others won't. Like, he's the guy who knows that when, someone is getting near the cage door, the ref's gonna open it, which allows you to slam it into their head on their way out. Or the fact that falling off the top of the cage is fine, just as long as you land outside it and both feet hit the floor. I'm really excited that we're finally incorporating pro wrestling into the show. I don't know if you noticed, but look, here's the biggest deal about Cameron Poe, okay? Whatever this match is, this cage match, it seems like wrestling, could be MMA, could be a lot of things, but whatever it is a sport. And these characters are all from movies. Therefore, this is clearly a sports movie. Do you know what happens in sports movies? The good guy wins. The heroic, moral, straight and narrow, good guy wins at the end every damn time. Troy is straight up a villain. Malus is an incompetent dupe. And Gates is like some kind of watered down anti-hero who steals shit because history.
Oh,
These
no.
These are not the people who come out on top in sports movies, all right? The guy who comes out on top is the stand-up man's man with fists of fury and a heart of gold, and that's Cameron Poe. Cameron Poe is Hulk Hogan, all right? Cameron Poe is Rocky. Cameron Poe is going to win this match and take that championship, which I don't know if there actually is one, but if there is, it's the Nicolas Cage World Championship, and he will inaugurate the new era in sports, entertainment, and the sport of professional Nicolas Caging.
Doom! Doom! Cage!
What is even happening anymore?
All right. Colin, fly, bitch.
All right. Let's stop all this nonsense that's going on here. It's time for the real competitor, because out of all the competitors assembled here, Castor Troy is by far the one most likely to win the cage match. Some of the other competitors here are smart, and one of the other competitors here is also a killer, by accident. But Castor Troy is the only one that is both highly intelligent and also a killer, and he's a killer on purpose. He's also completely cold, ruthless, and wonderfully insane to a degree that no other cage in the cage match can match. Castor Troy is a self-described terrorist for hire. He's implied to be one of the most notorious criminals in the entire world of Face-Off. The entire FBI and CIA are obsessed with finding him, and he is treated by his fellow criminals everywhere he goes as some sort of legendary Robin Hood-like folk figure. Whenever he walks into a room full of criminals, they behave around him the way that a room full of Catholics would behave around the Pope. Clearly, this dude has done some crazy shit in his day. His skills are highly impressive. He is shown to be able to defeat rooms full of trained FBI agents in SWAT gear when he is wielding only a pair of pistols, his trademark red sunglasses, and no body armor. He is also shown to be a master of driving, boating, and hand-to-hand fighting. We can gather from all of these that he has incredible agility, based on the fact that shooting, driving, boating, and fighting are all agility-based skills in Savage Worlds. Troy is also shown to be highly intelligent, able to craft complex, multi-step plans that baffle the best law enforcement experts in the FBI. He places a bomb in the LA Convention Center, which the FBI fails to find, and then, when he is living as FBI agent Sean Archer after switching faces with him, he decides that rather than let the bomb detonate as he originally planned, he will instead defuse it to give himself a promotion and then kill the head of the FBI, but make it look like a heart attack to give himself yet another promotion and make himself the head of the FBI. One other competitor is as smart as that, that's Ben Gates, but he is nowhere near as ruthless. Troy is also shown to be highly manipulative. He is a master of disguise, even when not wearing another man's face, as we can see when he disguises himself as a priest at the beginning of the film, or when he runs out of bullets in his fight against Sean Archer at the beginning of the film. He is able to turn on the crocodile tears and feign begging and pleading to trick Sean Archer into lowering his guard briefly. He then draws a hidden knife and attempts to stab Archer. Archer is able to see this knife coming and disarm him, but based on the number of times that Troy has been implied to have defeated Archer in the past and slipped away, we can guess that this is the first and only time that his nemesis didn't fall for one of Troy's dastardly tricks. The three competitors assembled here today, on the other hand, will be unfamiliar with Troy and won't see this sort of deception coming, Poe and Gates especially. However, Troy's biggest strength in this competition is simply the fact that he is completely psychotic. This makes him impulsive, violent, unpredictable, and frightening as hell. Whatever crazy moves he decides to bust out, his opponents will never see them coming. Whatever absurd non sequitur nonsense comes flying out of his mouth will leave his opponents completely dumbfounded and creep the hell out. Castor Troy hangs out for a few hours totally awake without a face at all, and doesn't seem particularly bothered by it. This experience just seems to make him even more maniacally violent, if such a thing was even possible. When he is cornered by Archer at the end of the film, he starts carving into his own face with a knife to prevent Archer from taking it back. And if you'll indulge one final argument, a very important aspect of any professional wrestling match is, of course, a sense of style. And this is the area where, by far, Castor Troy has the edge. There's really no argument to be made for any other competitors in this area. A black and red suit, red sunglasses, 2 golden pistols, a box of chewing gum, and an absurdly flamboyant sense of showmanship, it's clear that, over the course of this fight, Castor Troy is the only one who will be having any fun. And so, even though he's a bit of a heel, the audience will definitely be won over to his side. At one point, Archer starts listing off some of the agents that Troy has killed: Anderson, Montgomery, Berkeley, Pincus, Janelli, Winters. By the end of this competition, there will be 3 new names on that list: Poe, Gates, and Malus.
Whew. A vicious opening salvo from all sides. The cages are really throwing down with each other, so let's take a closer look at the action as we examine.
I've never seen a cage match like this one, Dan.
I told you no color commentators.
You did not.
Let's examine some rebuttals. So we are going to start with Ben Gates. So everyone else, you have 1 point to make against Ben Gates, and then Liz will have a response to each. So Have at it.
My point against Ben Gates is that Ben Gates never, ever, ever, ever wins a fight. He prevails in National Treasure because he's a little bit smarter and a little bit more well-read. Liz, you mentioned that this was a movie in which Sean Bean doesn't get killed. Let me repeat that. Literally everyone else manages to kill Sean Bean. Ben Gates can't do it. The dude never wins any sort of confrontation. He just runs, hides, and then is like, oh wait, I'm gonna push this button because plot device.
And that's exactly my point, though, is that people will be like, oh, yeah, this guy, he looks so nice. Oh, he seems pretty smart, too. I'm going to use him and pretend I have the upper hand. And, you know, he's going to be like, oh, I'll get rid of him after he does what I want him to do. And then Ben Gates, as he always does, pulls the rug out from under the bad guys and ends up saving the day or saving the treasure.
There's no rug in a cage match, and likewise, there is no, like, secret Freemason symbol that he can decipher and, like,
you don't know
make
where
some
this
secret
you
door
don't
in
know
the
that.
cage open.
Let's
Miles, you've made your point. Let's move on to Colin or Kit, whoever's ready.
My point is short. He was good at protecting the Declaration of Independence, but can he protect his own ass? His fancy ass knowledge of American history is not going to help him here. That's
I would say wrestling is American history, so he would know probably a lot about wrestling, and he would know exactly what to do in this situation.
Wrong demographic.
He would know.
All right, Colin, do you have anything?
Yeah, at the beginning, he cuts his thumb open for, like, no reason. He could have... I'm sure there was something else he could have rubbed on that pipe apart from his own blood. I know it's not directly related, but I think it just sort of undermines his whole credibility and intelligence and shows that he's just the kind of guy who likes to look cool and talk big and be showy, but he's probably not really as smart as he seems.
Well, don't forget that he can't even talk his way out of a gift shop.
Yeah, that's true. How persuasive is he if he can't, when he's like $1 short from buying like a fake Declaration of Independence, he can't get his way out of a gift shop.
I mean, did you see that cashier? That cashier didn't take any shit, you know? He just had to deal with it, and he dealt with it, and it was fine.
yeah, and left a paper
and
trail.
and you know, the whole blood thing, you know, I'm sure he'll end up he'll cut his hand and, you know, well, I could just shove something else into a competitor's eyes, but I'm going to shove my blood in their eyes because I'm badass.
All right, I think that's it for the Ben Gates rebuttal round. Let's move on to Edward Malus. Whoever's ready may go.
Where to even begin?
I mean, come on, dude.
Now, why are you going to go and do a thing like that?
It's the dude from the Wicker Man.
I mean, if this was an intense staring contest or who has the best city talk, maybe. But I mean, he's a cop and he couldn't even see through a charade of a town of honey-humping maniacs. He couldn't see through that. I mean, he's probably going to walk in between Cameron and Castor while they're fighting and be like, oh my god, what is this? Take that mask off! Take that mask off! The guy's fucking nuts.
On the contrary, he's very good at sneaking around that island. And, I mean, the ring is like a raised area. He'll probably get off of that thing and sneak around that, avoiding the clusterfuck that is the three other cages.
For what is the ring but an island in the stadium?
Edward Malus loses a fight to his own, like, 8-year-old kid. That's all. I don't think I have to say anything else.
It was the betrayal, dude. He's gonna know that these 3 imposter versions of himself are an issue.
Welcome to professional wrestling.
I don't know if he's going to know that about Troy, who's probably going to act like his friend at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of the low-hanging fruit, but I think he's the oldest Cage we have here. And he looks like he's pretty out of shape, honestly. Not to mention, you know, both physically and mentally, he's super traumatized and like hallucinating all over the place. And he's got like a little bit of a beer gut, so.
Yeah,
he's going to have his shit with him. He's going to have his like antipsychotics.
Because those work so well for him throughout the course of the movie. That's why he kept on hallucinating all the time.
Cool. He's going to take them all before the match. That's how it works, right?
Malus is the guy who, like, falls for one of the, you know, women in wrestling backstage, and then she just turns on him for no reason.
Okay, see, that I would take, but they're not going to be here, so.
She's gonna interfere in this match.
Castor Troy, being a master of disguise, is going to put on a wig and some lipstick. Or just the face of a woman from behind.
The old Bugs Bunny gambit.
And about him not being, like... About him not being as physically fit, did you see him dive into that water? Did you see his fucking dive? Majestic.
A 6 at best.
All right.
The Russian judge is tough.
I think that's all the time we have for Edward Malus. Let's move on to Cameron Poe. Begin when ready.
Well, his majestically flowing hair is going to be a hindrance in this fight.
Yeah, good for pulling.
Actually, he seems like, in the beginning at least, he seemed like he had something to prove. He was reckless. He allowed himself to get goaded into an unfair fight when he could have just gotten in the car and left. Like a smart
There was
person.
somebody threatening him and his pregnant wife.
He could have gotten in a car and left. Instead,
He
found
was
the kill.
surrounded by goons.
He wasn't surrounded.
Much like one, he's surrounded
Yeah,
by goons. Much like one is in wrestling, and he outfought them and has happened to kill one accidentally.
Okay.
Because that's how badass he is. His hands are like legally registered as lethal weapons.
I think Cameron is gonna fall into the same thing that Edward Malus is gonna fall into, the whole train wreck thing. All I can say is, if you remember the scene where Steve Buscemi is talking to him about murdering and why he likes to murder and stuff, Cameron Poe starts freaking the fuck out, looking at his hands and like pondering his very meaning of existence and being like, "Oh no, stop! You gotta stop talking. I don't want to hear that. Don't talk to me." I mean, he's gonna go crazy. You put Castor Troy and Edward Malus in the same ring as Cameron Poe, he's just gonna be like, "Oh, I'm too kind-hearted for this. I can't take this." Like that's
Okay,
what's gonna happen. He goes
Castor
nuts.
Troy is a murderer. Castor Troy is a terrorist murderer. He goes nuts all over that guy, sure. He goes nuts by killing his fucking ass. And the same thing is true of Edward Malus, who's just kind of a dick.
Yeah, so he's gonna be dealing with that while Ben Gates just slips right away.
Ben Gates like tries to climb the cage wall and like gets out of breath before he's halfway
Ben
up.
Gates
Sure.
isn't even on Cameron Poe's radar.
All right, Liz, you've made your point. Colin, if you have anything.
Yeah, I'll throw it in here. I think that Cameron Poe definitely has the oiliest biceps out of everyone here, but I don't think that necessarily makes him the best fighter. You say he fights a bunch of people. He really just spends most of the movie just hanging out with the convicts. Even when he gets them alone, he doesn't often take an opportunity to attack them because he doesn't really like fighting. He doesn't like violence, and he gets a chance to fight against them a decent amount of the time, but he doesn't because he's just kind of another dude. He's just more of an everyman throughout the course of the movie as opposed to like a badass action hero, I'd argue. You know,
Colin,
what?
What? John Cena does not like violence. John Cena does not revel in the harm he does to others. But when people come at him, when he is in a match and when there's a fight to be won, John Cena rises to the occasion and wins every fight that he's in. Cameron Poe totally kills and fights people when he gets them one-on-one. He gets after Billy Bedlam. He gets him one-on-one, kills his ass with an exposed pipe, for God's sake. He's the reason that Dave Chappelle's character gets caught up in the landing gear. He comes after Johnny 23 when he's attacking the woman.
Sally Bishop.
Sally Bishop, yeah. Comes after Johnny 23, kills his rapist fucking ass. Dude, this guy stands up for what is right and takes the bad guys down.
You compared him to Rocky in the beginning. I don't know if that was exactly the best comparison, because we all know, Rocky, he doesn't exactly win every fight he's in either.
Well, that was boxing. This is wrestling. The good guys win in wrestling.
Okay, all right.
He doesn't kill Johnny.
All right,
The plane crashed us.
that's enough.
Spoilers.
Oh man, if listeners haven't figured out that this is just dripping with spoilers, then
this entire show always, like, we never
Always.
What
even
have they
care.
been waiting for with watching these movies?
yeah,
Really, the name of the show should be Spoiler Alert.
right.
Ooh, yeah.
That's not bad. But that's not what we're deciding right now. Right now, we are deciding what happens with Castor Troy in the rebuttal round.
The only reason he was able to escape from Sean Archer in the beginning with his waterworks is because there was history there. I mean, he really hurt Archer, and Archer would be like, okay, I kind of want to hear what this guy has to say. But other than that, he gets captured, gets knocked into a coma about the least badass thing that can happen to you, and he dies via a spear gun. I mean, the only reason he even has a horse in
What
the
kind of
race-
loser gets shot with a spear gun?
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
that's for underwater combat, clearly. That happens on land. That's sad. Okay. And the only reason he still even has a horse in this race is because there's some kind of bomb in LA. It's not because, he's so scary. No, it's because he had some forethought. I mean, that's just not going to apply to this situation. And plus, he's also, again, going to fall victim to the craziness that is Cameron Poe and Edward Malus. I'm convinced that the three of these guys are just going to be at each other's throats, because he's going to go for the most aggressive number one threat in the room. I'm telling you, Ben Gates with his $1 million smile, no one suspects a thing. Be like, I'll deal with that nerd later.
So first of all, you mentioned Archer falling for the tricks because they had history together. I'd argue the exact opposite. The reason that he actually sees it coming is because he knows that he's a dirty little snake. Whereas like all of those other FBI agents that he's killed and all of the other law enforcement agencies that he's been able to, avoid over all the years and all the times he puts on disguise and slips past people, it's all because he's a really good manipulator, and Archer is the only one who could see through it and the only one who could beat him because they had that history. All these people are meeting Troy fresh, and so he's totally going to catch them off guard. And I mean, we see that he might be crazy, but his craziness never makes him less effective. It just makes him scary and unpredictable. So, I mean, you say he's going to get caught up in like a frenzy and not be aware of his surroundings and not
except that one time where he doesn't kill his arch enemy when he has him at his mercy.
Which time was that?
When Archer is in prison with Troy's face and Troy goes to visit him with Archer's face and taunts him before leaving, allowing Archer to eventually escape.
How exactly would he kill him when he's in prison?
Hey, there's a lot of shit that will happen not on camera or whatever. I mean, you hear about stuff like that all the time. That is not that far out in the realm of possibility.
That wasn't my point. I was just making a response to you.
Okay, sure. Well, what's your point? Someone make a point.
I'm letting Kid go first.
My point is that he's used to relying on guns, not punching. I highly doubt he's going to have guns in the ring. The only ass you ever really see him kick in that movie is that of a teenager and an old-ass man.
Well, your character is an old-ass man, so I think that is going to...
You're going to be dealing with Poe. I am quite certain. And I'm suddenly
yeah,
Malus.
and
Malus is going to be stealthing his ass out of that ring.
He's going to be like, don't mind me. I'm just a bear sitting in the corner. Well, I think that one thing that we know about wrestling is that the bad guys always sneak a weapon into the fight. And of course, Castor Troy is going to do this, whether it be a knife or even a gun. Oh, that might be a little bit
a gun.
It's okay, a chair then. A golden chair. He's going to dual wield golden chairs. That he's going to pull out of nowhere. Yeah. And, the very straight shooting Cameron Poe will, of course, not see any of this coming. And he's not even going to need weapons to beat any of these other competitors.
All right, Miles, you have a point to raise?
Yeah, I do. Leaving aside the fact that Castor Troy is probably on heavy drugs this whole time, this is a battle of Nicolas Cages, right? All these guys kind of look similar. Now, if I'm walking down the street and I see someone who kind of looks like me, I'm just going to be like, oh, hey, that guy kind of looks like me. What do you know? Small world. And move on. However, if I have previously had an adventure in which someone has stolen my face and I have in retaliation stolen his face, I'm going to be a little bit more freaked out when I see a bunch of people who look exactly like me. Castor Troy has a distinct psychological disadvantage in this match. And the last thing I really want to say, Dan, if you'll allow
Make it quick.
In your open, Colin, you mentioned Castor Troy's sense of style. The fact that he would have the crowd behind him, even though he's a heel. Just his look, his appearance, his ambiance as he goes to the ring. There's a wrestler in WWE right now by the name of Bray Wyatt. Great sense of style. He's a heel, but the crowd loves him. He's creepy and he says all kinds of fucked up shit and gets psychological advantages over people. And he's got tremendous stage presence and just this amazing ambiance hovering over him. And he loses every single feud that he has ever been in.
Colin, your response?
That's because, I hate to break it to you, Miles, but wrestling is fake, and that's been written ahead of time. Even if Castor Troy is told to, fold and to throw the match because he's a heel, there's no way in hell he's going to do it. He's going to freaking kill everybody in the ring.
Okay, first of all, you're breaking kayfabe, and second of all, this guy has supernatural powers.
Castor Troy
has supernatural powers? No.
What was that first point you made? Because I don't think I got a chance to address that.
The one about how he's going to be thrown off by the faces?
The faces. I think that we've seen that when Castor Troy is, pushed to being crazy, like when he has his face cut off, and wakes up with no face, that traumatic experiences that he goes through don't really throw him off his game that much. They just throw more fuel on his crazy fire of killing people. So I think that if he sees a bunch of other people with his own face, he's going to go into, a crazy blood frenzy and just murder them all.
I think he's weak. I think he's weak in the head. I question his killer instinct, not finishing off.
You
Archer
question Castor Troy's killer instinct?
I do.
All right.
Because he had Archer there in his hands, and he didn't finish him right then.
Oh,
and there.
Look at the carnage. The 4 contestants have been at it for over half an hour, and this match is still far from over. But wait, what's that music? Something's approaching the ring, and I don't believe it! It's the lightning round!
Not the lightning round! Not the lightning round!
Who could possibly have seen this coming?
Feeling themselves tiring and seeing that their foes are similarly running out of gas, one of the cages manages to accidentally land a blow on the in-ring referee, knocking the ref unconscious. With no direct rules enforcement, the kid gloves come off. At this point, some of the backstage talent see the chaos beginning to escalate in the ring and decide to make good on their friendships and rivalries with the cages by jumping in. This match just got a lot messier. So, advocates, answer me this.
Dan,
yes.
The term is schmoz. It got schmozier.
Oh, it got schmozier. Pardon me, sir.
Yeah.
So, advocates, answer me this. Which previous Smash Fiction character rushes to your cage's aid? Why has this character decided to help and support your cage? Do they feel a kinship with your cage? Has your cage helped them in the past? Or are they only siding with you because they have a deep animosity toward another cage? And how will your cage join forces with this unexpected ally to win the day and end up holding the coveted title of World Heavyweight Cage? Colin, Castor Troy, you went last in the initial rounds. You are going first in the lightning round.
Part of me wants to take Godzilla before Kit can claim it.
I will literally fucking shank you. I will walk to Tucson. I will carve Godzilla into your chest.
Colin, I actually had the exact same thought, so you're not alone in this.
Oh man, I was gonna say Blade because of their love of wearing sunglasses at inappropriate times. But in his time since the events of the film Face Off, he miraculously survived, by the way, somehow, and slipped away and changed his identity.
Clearly.
But yeah,
clearly.
In the time, he actually went to a support group for people without faces.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
It was there that he made a good friends with a guy named No Face. So
Does he like spirit spread?
He does. They brought it to all the meetings.
Okay.
On their little like fold out table with crackers and things. Anyway, so his old buddy No Face. Hold on, let me think of a wrestler name.
Colin, I shouldn't be helping you like this, but just so you know, there is a wrestler by the name of Sin Cara.
Oh, really?
Which in Spanish means
is he a luchador?
No. He is a luchador, and he also kind of sucks,
my God.
so you might not want to use
Is
it.
No Face wearing a mask over his mask?
Yes. So the ultimate heel, of course, is No Face.
Oh, gosh.
But he's so cute.
No, that was a wrestling pun.
Oh.
Because it's faces and heels. So if he's No Face, then he's a heel.
Oh, boy.
Get
Wow.
So yeah,
Well done, Colin.
as you might imagine, an ability to teleport around the ring and eat people in a single bite is really going to come in handy in a wrestling match. And with no ref to stand in the way, I think that the combined forces of Castor Troy and No Face will make quick work out of all of the other competitors assembled here.
Okay, Miles?
Well, I mean, Cameron Poe does come from the world of Con Air. And, he's traveling there with a bunch of convicts, people who have been who have been convicted of dastardly crimes, some of them more honorable than others. And, Poe has a bit of a history with, making friends, or maybe not friends, but at least, making peace with the more honorable amongst thieves. And that's why, when he finds that one of the convicts from Con Air is heavily incarcerated and, is awaiting transport and extradition from someplace called Latveria.
Oh, no. Oh.
He's
damn you.
interested, and he, you know what? He finds common ground because Doom actually has respect for Cameron Poe. Doom respects that Cameron Poe fights for what's his, fights for his family, fights for his home, fights for his freedom. Doom has no respect for an anarchist like Castor Troy, or for, a little looky-loo like Benjamin Gates.
A meddler, if you will.
A meddler, indeed. No respect for these guys. Some guy like Edward Malus who sneaks around and is just totally fucking an idiot. Doom would have sacrificed him before the women on the island ever got a chance. Doom is definitely united in his hatred of these others, but I think more important is the kinship he has with Cameron Poe. And Doom has been known to form these bonds of friendship with, again, friendship might not be the best word, but these allegiances with heroes, great heroes, because he can't help but have respect for them. He respects the fact that Cameron Poe killed in defense of what was right. Doom has the twisted sense of morality that kind of comes down from an act like Cameron Poe's. He understands where he's coming from. And let me tell you, man, when this brawl in this cage is breaking out and the lights go off and they come back on and Dr. Doom is in the ring, glowing with green fire that is a combination of science and magic, with a horde of Doombots surrounding the entire place, ready to tear the cage down, and anyone who gets over the edge, you will all fall before the Lord of Latveria. All hail Doom! Except you, Cameron Poe. Also hail Doom, but you're cool.
Okay, Kit. I'm curious as to who you chose.
All right. Obviously, I would have chosen Godzilla, but I couldn't justify why he would know Malus. And also, I realized...
Malus has been on an island. Godzilla's from an island.
Also, it's too easy. Obviously, he would win if Godzilla helped. In fact, Godzilla would probably just kill everyone there. Who cares?
Including Malus.
Including Malus. So, instead, Malus is a cop. He's got cop connections. He's probably been to some kind of cop convention. They do that, right? Anyway.
Cop convention?
Yes, sure, yeah. Talk about new cop things.
New cop things?
Cop things. So, I'm going to say he knows and is close to a certain officer, Maza. I believe that's her name. And he got in touch, realizing he might need a little extra help, and she got in touch with her people. And so now the gargoyles are going to be swooping into this fight and bringing their own awesome, stony, badass monster flavor.
Okay. How are they going to help Edward Malus win this fight?
They'll swoop in, pick him up, drop him down on the other side of the cage. Boom. Done.
Dude, those guys couldn't even beat the Ninja Turtles. They will totally fall before Doom.
They're not going to be able
Spoiler
to get through a
alert.
steel cage.
All right, Liz.
Poor Ben Gates. He fights with his dad, all the time. And it's really sad because, family, you want to be with your family, you want to love your family. And, there's just a certain someone that just can't stand it anymore. You know who walks to that ring? Lara Croft, Ben Gates' long-lost sister. She comes through and, in Tomb Raider, John Voight, he's dead. And, she's wrecked by it. Oh, Lord Croft, I love that guy. I love my dad. And in National Treasure, John Voight's alive. And she just comes in and she's like, oh my God, Ben, we have to get the family together. I want to have dinner with everyone. This means a lot to me, okay?
She stares lovingly into his eyes.
Lara Croft is coming into the ring to save Ben Gates so they can have their fucking family dinner together. That's all they want. And you know what? They've practiced this before because, they went to, archaeology school and, history. I mean, they're both very smart people. So they already have a amateur wrestling duo formed called the Truly Tumultuous Treasure Troop Tutelage, because they're really smart and they use awesome adjectives and nouns in alliteration, and it's fantastic.
So wait, they were on the archaeology school wrestling team.
You never
archaeology
know.
school together.
Hey! I mean, these people study civilizations all the time, and you don't know the kind of stuff that they have to pick up or end up picking up. And she can fight hand to hand. She can also fight with her guns. And I just know there's gonna be a scene where she's jumping off the cage. Ben throws her the declaration at the last second. She goes, and just hits everyone. I mean, they want their steak and mashed potatoes, and they want their family reunion. So she's bringing him home.
The only problem with that, Liz, is that that's not actually their dad. That's a Doombot.
Anything is better than nothing.
What a slobber knocker here tonight, folks. Well, It looks like one of the cages has finally made it over the top and successfully made his escape, but I can't see from here which one it is.
They all look so similar.
I'm gonna have to go down. I'm gonna have to go down to ringside to investigate and also to try to think up more Nicolas Cage quotes. So I'll be back in a moment with the verdict.
First blood.
Oh my god.
That was great.
I am so happy that I managed to teach Dan this much about wrestling in the short time that I've known him. I guess it's kind of been a long time, but still,
So,
makes me really happy.
out of these movies, y'all, which one was your favorite? Because having a hard time deciding. Face Off?
I'm a big Con Air fan, actually, which is one of the reasons I wanted to defend this character.
I think I enjoyed Con Air, National Treasure, and Face Off all very much for very different reasons.
National Treasure is silly as fuck, but I actually
like
really
it.
do. I really do like it. Yeah, I
I was
like
surprised
it
at
a
how
lot.
funny it was and like how clever it was at certain points in it. Like it
I
held up
agree.
better than I thought it would. It's still silly and stupid and ridiculous, but
Well, what about this? Not just considering these 4 films, what's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
Seconds.
adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation's a good one.
Yeah.
I like the Cars.
The what?
The Cars and Gone in 60
Oh.
Seconds.
Gone in 60 Seconds. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
I know everybody talks shit about the remake, but I like it a
No,
lot.
I thought it was fine. It was a product of the early 2000s. It's fine.
Yeah.
How about you, Kit?
Oh, man. I think I'm having a really hard time between basically these 3 that we mentioned, actually. I really enjoyed Con Air, as kind of dumb as, like, there are, dumb as it is in certain parts.
Yeah.
But damn, Dave Chappelle is great in it. John Cusack is gorgeous.
He is that.
You just like him because he looks like Dan.
I have a type.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
By the way, what is that character's job? Is it superhero? Because he is way too invested in Cameron's
Right.
Pablo. The whole freaking movie, especially toward the end, I'm like, Dan, what is this guy's job?
He's some sort of law enforcement.
I thought he had something to
think?
do with
He's
the plane, but now
He's like a special agent,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is he an FBI? Isn't he FBI?
I don't know if he's FBI.
But yeah, the part where that movie gets totally ridiculous is where like John Cusack and Cameron Poe both steal police motorcycles
Yes!
and like and they just like ride off together and John Cusack is like totally cool with it. He's like, yeah, this convict and I are just gonna steal some police motorcycles together, whatever. I'm probably have to fill out a little paperwork later to explain this, but
vigilante justice. Also, in Face Off, is everything made out of fucking fireworks? Because anytime something gets hit,
sparks everywhere. Sparks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Cusack's character is a U.S.
Yeah,
Marshal kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean superhero? Because literally, he
I mean,
likes.
in most
Does that mean he is the law?
in most movies,
Oh,
U.S.
wow.
Marshal usually does mean superhero. Yeah. So
All right then.
for the most
'Cause
part,
he was
he's
like
pretty
as
bad.
badass as Cameron.
That's not factually correct. I think Cameron's definitively more badass than him. He's just badass in a different way.
More hair.
But I do love that moment where they meet up for like a few minutes and shit is going to hell all around them and they just kind of have a conversation for a couple seconds before they have to go back. Con Air is really a great movie. I love
It's very
Con Air.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I also really like The Rock.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
that's
not
a
seen The Rock.
great
I hear good
movie.
things about it though, yeah.
Oh, The Rock is amazing.
Yeah.
I love
We
The Rock.
still have plenty of cages left over if we do this
Yeah.
again next year. Like
Do this
like
again
you know,
next year.
I was thinking because we didn't let ourselves do any supernatural cages, so maybe
Yeah, that would be a
somewhere
good
to go.
one.
Did anyone else get more and more mad every time Archer in Face Off did that stupid face hand thing?
Did you gotta take his face off that
He
thing?
like petted his like loved one's face.
Oh, yeah.
Like right over right on
Oh,
their
where he like
face.
walks up to her and just like puts his hands on her face. It's like,
Yes!
that's not like sexy or cool or anything. It's just weird.
It's-
Yeah.
I heard sexy and cool. Were you guys talking about me?
No.
No, I was talking about
Nicolas
John
Cage.
Cusack.
Oh, okay. You guys, I have to say, like, I walked into this match thinking that, it was just going to be like a fun, jokey sort of thing that we could do to close out the end of the year. But I was shocked with how well you guys sort of, like, really outlined the really different strengths that you guys could bring and make relevant to this fight. And also the way you were really able to nail down the specific weaknesses of everyone. Like, if nothing else, this was a triumph of utter bullshit. Just
That's what this is all about, right?
it
Yeah.
completely and totally is. But in the end, one of the cages made it out, and it was by the narrowest of margins. But in the end, the victor has to be Cameron Poe.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And the
Darn.
crowd goes wild.
I'm okay with losing to him.
Man, but like I never expected to consider Edward Malus as a victor as seriously as I ended up doing.
Dude, that bare right hook. Boom.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Those
I
epic
misbehaved. I have to be punished. But remember, every time you look in the mirror, you'll see my face.
I was honestly, Dan, I was half expecting you to ask us during the lightning round to come up with the names of all our finishing moves.
That was one thing I was considering. I was considering having you guys like talk about what improvised wrestling weapons you would grab, but in the end, I'm a sucker for the crossover. So
No,
you know,
no. It was great. Yeah.
had to pull it.
I think Troy won with his golden chairs.
Oh my gosh,
Golden
gosh.
chairs.
Colin, that was
Well-
the strongest point you made all night. Golden chairs. So good.
Well fought, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
well
great
fought.
job, everybody.
But
That
as
was
we all, John Cena always fucking wins, guys. Sorry, he does. I hate it too, but he does.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Smash Fiction. Next week, we will be airing our very first episode of our actual play RPG podcast, Extraordinary League. It's going to be very interesting. And then after that, we will return with our more regular programming. The week after next, the match will be a fan-submitted one from Andy Spurlock. The match is Jareth the Goblin King versus Dr. Frank N. Furter. Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo design by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
I found a lot of crazier Castor Troy quotes now that I wish I had said as my ring entrance. There's like, "You watch your fucking mouth. I'm about to unleash the biblical plague Hell A deserves."
I think I would have just gone with Papa's got a brand new bag.
Papa's got a brand. That's a good one too. Yeah, yeah.
I would just said, whoops. Whoops.